Hello and welcome to another episode of the Embodied Life Coaching Podcast. I am delighted to have a friend, really, and fellow coach on the podcast today, Lisa Florit. So I met Lisa last year on a retreat that I did down in Cornwall, which for those of you not in the UK, think seaside, countryside, nice, down the bottom of the country. And I really wanted to have Lisa on the podcast because, as you will know if you've been here a while, I was in corporate and chose to leave. And a lot of the people that I work with now are in that similar space. They're sort of questioning what they want from their lives, but a lot of the time it is to do something else. Now, Lisa has a slightly different approach. She helps people to stay and to thrive in the work that they do. So, you know, a lot of the time being in that kind of environment, it can feel like striving and pushing and just surviving. Lisa takes them from that space to really thriving. So I'm so excited to have her on today to talk about how she does that, basically, and how you can do that too if that's the space that you are in. So Lisa, hello.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
It's my absolute pleasure. So I know I've just done my version of an introduction, but do you want to just dive in a little bit with kind of what it is you do and maybe why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So what I do in a nutshell is all about supporting and empowering other women. And that's the work sort of on an individual basis. And doing that with lots of different women who work in different organizations is hopefully a small step at a time, helping to what's the best description? Redress the gender imbalance that we've got in our leadership generally, not just in the organizational life. We look around us and we see mainly men in leadership positions still. And I have a vision for a future, as many others do. I know I'm not alone in this, that we get to a point where we have men and women working together, that you don't automatically think of a surgeon, for instance, as a man. You think of them as a surgeon first, for instance, or the CEO of an organization. And in order to get there, what we need to do is we need more women to move into more leadership roles first, more senior leadership roles. But what is happening is that too many are doing what you did and leaving for all sorts of different reasons. And I was a bit hesitant when I started to say that, because that then sounds like potentially, well, I'm criticizing you for leaving. Well, no, it didn't work for you. It doesn't work for lots of other people. But there are ways that we can get more comfortable and thrive in that environment as women. So it's this. If you look at it from a micro level, it's working with individual women day by day, week by week, month by month, so that we can, together make some, serious change in this world.
Brilliant, thank you. And it's interesting because yes, I chose to leave, but also I'm probably, and you can talk to me about this in a second, but I'm probably would fall into the category of person that you would ordinarily help. I was on director track, partnership track, like they'd got me pegged as a future leader of a business, and I was at a bigger company. It's interesting because my experience, as painful as it was, I never felt that I suffered because I was female. Now, I probably did because of my traits and my personality and how I was, and it didn't really work in that environment, but I never felt that I suffered. And even as I'm saying that, I'm like, yeah, because you showed up in that environment with all of your masculine energy, so you fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it is very, very interesting. And I was actually chatting to someone who is at PwC now yesterday. And he said to me, he said, I think a lot of it's got to do with the work environment. I said, I'll be honest. I said, I got to a point where I didn't think I could be there and be well.
Mm.
But a lot of that could be my perception. So yeah, analyze me. I'm here for it.
Yeah, and it's so complicated. I think that's part of the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we lead really busy lives, and often what happens is exactly what happened to you, that we're on this manic fast treadmill, and it it really takes something to stop and to go, whoa, what's going on here? Is this what I want? Does this work? How is it? And for many people, that's a massive event of some description, burnout often. But for others of us, and I suppose I would put myself in this situation. So I had a corporate career, spent 25 years in HR, got myself into a pretty senior leadership role, lots of responsibility. Um, had my daughter along the way, somehow managed to, keep going through all of that. But just felt like when I back on it, I was just, clawing my way up, the mountain almost, rather than feeling like I was really thriving and doing well and enjoying it. And it's that I want to be able to help more women with, to really tap into. So what is it that you really enjoy? If you can step back, if you can look at yourself and increase that self-awareness, so to be given the time to do that, and to step back, that's the key to it, and the beginning of it, which for most of us as women, we don't allow ourselves that time.
No.
It's not permitted. We've got 101 other responsibilities that we need to be doing, and as you rightly say, we're often trying to operate in this very masculine environment, so that certainly doesn't encourage us to stop and to think and reflect, and really tap into who we are.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And you say there about like that first step is awareness. Now, I have the benefit of nearly 5 years of a lot of coaching and therapy now that I didn't have when I was in corporate.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I can see how my behavioral patterns drove my experience at work. So my perfectionist tendencies, the people pleasing, the inability to say no, the inability to switch off, constantly go, 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 with all of this underlying anxiety going on. And then I wonder how, like, I found the job stressful. And I would look at colleagues that seem to like work less hours or care less, and I would be quite condescending towards them. I'm like, they don't care, they can't do it as well as me. Look at them. Whereas actually, hindsight's a wonderful thing. They kind of had it right, because they came in, they did the job well enough, and then they went and lived their lives. But sometimes it's very, very hard when you are in it. So I'm curious, if I was to come to you, because I had good intentions. We used to get these emails like, there's this wellbeing event on, or this is going on. I'd be like, that's really important, I need to read that. And I created a wellbeing folder. Well, I put all of the emails.
It's very organized.
And I was. That was my. That's if anyone had described me in one word to describe me, in my lawyer days, that would have been the word. 100% across the board.
Yeah.
And there they were in this wellbeing email folder, unopened, unread, and to this day, because I don't have a computer anymore, because it was a work computer, I never looked at them because there was never time, there was never space to breathe or be. So if I came to you, and let's just add in a couple of young children, which I don't have.
Yeah, just to complicate matters.
A dog, she's quite hard work.
Yeah, lovely, but hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah.
She's got ingrowing eyelashes.
Oh, bless her.
I know, she's going to have like an emergency operation in a couple of weeks. So yeah, look, the dogs are like families too.
Yeah.
But so let's throw in a couple of young kids, trying to navigate school drop off, school pick up, being, as let's call me a director, let's give me a promotion, being a director in a big firm. I'm managing clients, I'm managing my team, I'm finding it all very stressful. I'm going home after the kids have gone to bed, I'm starting work again, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But I'm also really ambitious, and I want to be partner. And that's really that's definitely where I want to go. And I know it's complex, right? So where do we start? Not the whole process, just where do we start?
Where do we start? By just starting with what you've started to describe to me and talking about, these are all the things that are going on in my life. These are the things that I find difficult. Pretty much unburdening yourself. Because so many of my clients, and particularly in the first session, go, I just feel like I've just downloaded at you. I'm like, that's exactly what you needed. That's where you need to start to just get it all out, because you start with one thing and there's this, and there's this, and there's that. So we spend pretty much the first session always in just getting it all out and going, right, all these things are going on. And it's my job then to help, that client to go, right, okay, we could probably group some of these in particular, categories around what's going on, in your domestic space, for instance. And are you taking on all of the domestic responsibilities? Is it always your responsibility to do all the childcare, for instance? So for many, there's a huge piece of work to do just in terms of some of the practicalities of, we take on everything, or certainly too much. We don't share. A lot of that comes from the conditioning that we're brought up with, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would not say that my mother, conditioned me to be the one who takes responsibility for the household, but absolutely that's what I've got. And you don't realize, you've done lots and lots of work on this, but you don't realize what you're being given by your parents. So we often don't realize, as we're having these first conversations, of what we're doing. But once you start to unpack it and you go, oh, look, I am actually doing all of these things, just at a real practical level. And it goes from there, really. And to start thinking about, well, this is what's going on. So let's just pop that over there for a while. Let's now talk a bit more about what you actually want. What might good look like? What might thriving feel like for you?
Yeah.
So starting to get that, it could be feeling of what it is you want.
Yeah, and I'm curious because it's interesting the overlaps, right? So even in my group program, Address and Unlock, one of the modules is our roles, rules, and bargains. So like, what are the unconscious things that we've taken on? So it's very, very similar. But one of the biggest challenges my clients have is they don't know what they want. Because they're so used to meeting the demands of everybody else and thinking about everybody else and meeting everybody else's needs, that they've kind of forgotten what their needs are. So is that something that you come upon with your clients as well?
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah. But actually once we go through that unburdening, let's call it that, and allow some of that time and space through subsequent sessions, it starts to bubble up and come out. They may have no idea in the first instance because they've never had time to think about it, and always been thinking about somebody else first, because that is huge conditioning for us as women. You need to put yourself at the bottom of this list, not at the top of it. So by having that dedicated time together, it allows those thoughts and feelings to start to come up and go, oh, well, maybe. And actually, I really enjoy that. Now I've actually got time to stop and think about it. And it's, as you know, it's that by somebody asking you a couple of questions, it can start a whole chain of thought that you would probably never have had on your own, because you won't allow yourself to do it.
No. And the thing as well is, I mean, I know this personally, but also, I mean, you'll know this personally, but clients will be able to relate to this as well, is in our day-to-day lives, there is often no one, and I don't say that to be dramatic, there is often no one who can listen to us properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And can just listen to us say, these are the things that I'm worried about, this is what's going on in my head, this is what I'm thinking about, without that person, because it makes them feel comfortable, trying to fix it, trying to solve it, trying to diminish your things, like to put to oh, it's not that bad, oh, it'll be fine, like, don't worry about it. But I think someone that can just sit and validate and be like, that sounds really hard for you.
Yeah.
Like, is such a gift. And in many ways, I think it's a shame that gift has to be provided by coaching. Like, if only we could get to a place in the world where we all have got those natural innate gifts. We're just not there right now.
No, we're not.
But it is such a gift to have someone be like, I'm here, like in our coaching language, it's holding the space, but just literally holding the space for somebody in their challenges.
Yeah, just have somebody who can listen and not judge, not come up with solutions, just be there with them in it. Yeah. It's it's a wonderful experience to be with your client in that place. You and I, as you say, we've both experienced it from the other side as being the client. And it's an essential part of who we are and what we do, isn't it? Getting our own support in that way.
Yes, very much. I very much buy into that we can only take another person as far as we've gone ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So it was interesting when you were talking then, Lisa, bearing in mind that I am a bit of an embodiment coach, like to use the body. You a couple of times touched your chest and your heart. And I don't know if it was that made me think of it, or if it was just in my mind anyway, but I'd love for you to talk about your kind of heart-led bigger mission, because we've been talking about like on an individual basis, which is obviously very important and it's where it starts. So how do we get, in this context, predominantly women, feeling like they can thrive in the workplace and live their best life? And for you, like, what's the bigger mission? So we have these women, they're thriving, they're staying, unlike some of us. And then what? Like, how does this play out for you?
Well, it plays out in that we have a different model of leadership. For instance, our model of leadership, you think about, in the corporate space, is okay. It's changing slowly, bit by bit. We talk about empathy a bit more now when we talk about authentic leadership, but it's still very much grounded in that male competitive, individualistic place. And how would it be if we were in a world where we complemented that with kindness and support and collaboration, which are typically the things, the female leadership traits. So it to me, it's about how do we shift this leadership model more quickly into more of that feminine space. So we have a more rounded approach that treats people really as human beings. And I guess that's what is in here about, treating people as human beings, and it takes you down a whole nother, avenue, I guess. But in the more that we can have women who thrive being who they are in those senior roles, they will make more change. They will bring more of that to bear. They will help support the male leaders who feel trapped in that, patriarchal, leadership style, to tap into more of this side of them. And that's the way we make change.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's interesting because I work with quite a few men, and you're right, like there's a lot of men that feel the same as a lot of women in the work.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They've been pushed down and all of the rest of it from higher up.
Yeah, and a lot of men are in a place where they're really struggling at the moment, because it's like, who am I supposed to be now?
Yeah. Well, they're not allowed anymore.
No. It's
middle-aged white men.
No, because we've got to fit everybody else in.
Yeah.
And men as fathers at the moment, so fathers of younger children, really want to spend more time with them and be far more active, take more of that 50-50 role. And it's really hard because so many organizations do not support that, or even if they say they do, but we know that it doesn't happen. So they're really struggling to find their identity and do what the things that they want to do at the moment. And this is what happens as we go through change, but it feels very slow and a bit like going through treacle at the moment.
Yeah, so we need more people up there who can be real agents for change, because you're right. Yes. Like when I look at society, we've just forgotten how to live. We've forgotten how to parent our children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that feminism kind of has a lot to answer for as well, right? Women can go out there and do everything and be everything, but they've still got to do everything at home, and they've still got to do everything at work, and they've still got to do all of these different bits.
It's worse than ever.
To look a certain way, and all of a sudden we've got like 6 full-time jobs, and we wonder why we're tired.
Yeah, because it's actually worse than ever. Oh, yes, you can do all this, and actually it's now expected you will have a successful career. Oh, and you will be a perfect mother at the same time. And you'll do all of it yourself, and you can't possibly ask for any help, because no, that's not a good thing to be doing as a woman, is it? It's a minefield.
Yeah, and things really do actually have to change quite radically, I think, in order for us to get back to health.
Yes.
Right? So you talked about that first phase of working with clients, about the awareness piece, helping them understand what they want and all the rest of it. So I've been trying to think about what my work looks like in a tangible way. And I can't actually remember the word I finally happened upon, which is helpful, isn't it? But I think it was restore.
Oh, excuse me. That should have been on silent, shouldn't it?
Well, to be honest, I've heard Sydney coming from the garden. It sounds like she had a twig, so I'm wondering what the state of the house is.
We should be better at this, really, shouldn't we? Most of the time my phone is on silent.
This is professional 2023 style. And I've completely forgotten what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Oh yeah, sorry. So, but like we've
About the
completely
word.
on how to live. Oh, the word, yeah. So I think I went for restore. It could have been repair, but I think I went with restore in the end. About getting back to that place of actually feeling. So, in order to go into a business and feel capable and able to make change, we have to have energy. We have to feel resilient. We have to feel vibrant. And so that's what I love about your first phase as well. It's kind of, essentially we're all doing work to help people be all of who they are and go out and shine brilliantly in the world in our own unique way.
Yeah.
But that first phase of, well, let's get you to a place where we've done the deep dive. We've looked at the stuff that's overwhelming you. We've looked at the stuff that you can maybe unburden. And there was something that I wanted to come back to on that. When I worked in law, I did everything at home. Everything. We had a cleaner. Recommend that to everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
We had a cleaner, but all the bill payments, like the food shops, bits of ad hoc tidying, I did everything. And I just thought that was lazy. Now, it's interesting because I remember, this is probably about 7, 8 years ago, I had this big argument and he was like, you don't let me do anything. And I pretty much do nothing these days. Sometimes I think it annoys him, but then most of the time he's quite happy.
Right.
I went to take the bin out yesterday after he'd done various different bits. He was like, oh, were you doing one task? I was like, don't be mean to me for my task. I got told off the other day for watering the garden wrong. I was like, we need to encourage me to do these things. But it's like a complete 180 shift.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing that's so important. A lot of the time, very easy for us to blame other people. But when we have got potentially minor control freak tendencies, are we actually giving other people the opportunity to do the other stuff? Now, I have started reading a book, which I know you've read because we both have the same coach and she's recommended it to me because you've recommended it to her. So I'm listening to The Dance of Anger by Lerner. And so interesting in that, where it talks about how, I know this is a tangent, but this is what we do, how women will often take on the emotional burden as well as the household.
Oh, yes.
So they will also take on the emotional burden of the husband. So the husband doesn't have to feel the emotions because the woman takes them on as well. And again, in that situation, we're actually robbing our other halves of feeling.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is. And at a really practical level, I came up with a tool to help women to go, okay, what am I doing here in terms of, is the mental load? And to help them to work through what are all the things that I'm doing? How do I start to shift this and shift it into a sharing place with the other person or other people in my household, including kids, as soon as they get old enough. But to not have responsibility and delegate tasks to others, but to go, these are all the tasks and let's divide them. So it's your responsibility to do it. I'm not going to be asking you to do it or keep an eye on you or supervising you because we're very good at doing that. I'll always put my hand up. My husband would be exactly the same. Well, you just get in a stripe if I don't do that properly. Possibly. So it takes a lot of work.
It does.
But we need to do it.
I get told now, I'm like, and that means you take it out of your head, you take it off of your secondary to-do list on your phone. It's like, and you just leave me to get on with it. I'm like, So your mental load tool, is that something that people can download? Like if you send me a link to it or something, is that people can access it? If I put it in the show notes after this. So
absolutely.
If they do Lisa's mental load assessment, they can get hold of that.
Yep.
Thanks. Didn't ask beforehand, but I was like, I'm sure she'll say yes under the pressure of the live podcast.
Yes, absolutely. It would look really weird if I said no.
Can we edit that bit out?
No, that's absolutely fine. I will send you the link. Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm very happy to share it with as many people
Yeah,
as can benefit from it as possible, because
yeah,
it is it's so practical, and it's a big thing for us. If we can just
yeah,
let go of some of this,
yeah,
we can focus on the things that we want to do and give us pleasure.
yeah. Brilliant. So one more final question for
Hmm.
me, and if there's anything else you want to add, you can do so. I want to talk about toxic work environments.
Mm.
So what do we do? Now, again, some of that will be perception, some of it will be reality.
Yeah.
But if you are someone who is in a toxic work environment, but kind of want to stay within a corporate, I'm assuming you've come across this.
Hmm.
How do you support in that situation? Like, is the only answer to leave? Is there like, how do you navigate that with your
Mm.
clients?
It's trying to really understand what is that toxicity for that individual.
Mm.
And sometimes it's about, the direct line manager, and how do they work with this individual. Sometimes it's more widespread in terms of, actually, culturally, this place just does not fit with me, and there are points at which you just need to remove yourself completely. But it's trying to work out what's really going on for that individual, why do they find it like that, and then to talk about, so what are the practical things that you can do to actually, continue to either survive, if you need to, for a while in that place, or to thrive by having a different, yeah, mindset around it. It's There's no one answer, I
Of course,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, but there are times and particularly by having somebody you can talk to as a non-judgmental, impartial person, in the work that we do, it's much easier to be able to try and work out, well, what's actually going on here? What's my stuff? What's their stuff? What can I actually do something about? Because often what we want is, we want the other person to change. Well, we can't do anything about that, much as we would love to.
Mm.
That's a very common conversation that I
Yeah.
have.
And when you get to a place where you can have the conversations at work, often the outcomes are quite surprising. Like, I've had clients before who have said, like, they're going ready to hand their notice in because they don't think they're going to get what they ask for. And the boss is like, yeah, we'll make that happen for you.
Mm.
It's not even a difficult conversation.
Yeah, and I find that a lot, actually, with female clients particularly. That, so have you actually had that conversation? Asked?
Mm.
Oh no, because I know what happened. How do you know
Yeah.
that? So no, we work to, okay, think about, how do you have this conversation, and see what happens. And as you say, often you just needed to ask, but you need to feel comfortable enough to ask. That's not comfortable, it's just comfortable enough to ask.
Brilliant. So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or share today?
I don't think so. I could go on and on. We could be talking for days. I hope that's been helpful
It's been,
to your listeners.
yeah, I think they will find it immensely helpful. So we'll make sure that the mental load assessment is
Mhm.
available in the show notes. If people want to come and stalk you on social media, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Thankfully, I've got one of those names that there's probably not many of us out there.
yeah,
Um, and I do a fortnightly newsletter, so they can sign up to that on LinkedIn.
yeah, great.
I'm on Instagram. So my company name is Alto.
Yeah,
Um, but on Instagram and LinkedIn, I'm as Lisa Florit. So on Instagram, I have a website, which is www.alto.uk.com. And
.uk.com. I've never heard of that
yes,
before.
I know. Well, I wanted yeah, anyway, it's a
Anyway.
long story. You know how these things go. We
Yeah.
won't digress. So I also have my LinkedIn newsletter, and then I also have a mailing list through my website. So they can sign up to that as well and keep in regular contact with me.
Thank you. And so what I will do is I will get all of that in the show notes as well, so it's easy just for people to click on.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm sure people sort of contemplating how can they get a little bit more balance, a little bit more thriving in their lives. We're going to find this discussion really, really helpful. I really appreciate it. Okay, so that's it for us this week, and I will see you all soon. Take care.